Okay, so the Panzer IV video covers the third step for the suspension. You're going to need some 12 ring caps, 16 for each vehicle, and you're going to need some 8 ring caps, 8 for each vehicle. And you're going to have to cut them out fairly carefully because these ones are going to end up being visible in the final model. So not only do you cut them out, but you need to carefully remove all the flashing, if there is any. And so I've already got some of these cut. Well, I've got some of the things made, but I will show making each kind. Anyways, so yeah, cut out a fair number of both of those. And you're also going to need a wooden fireplace matchstick. And I recommend like taking some fine sandpaper and just sanding it down a little bit to prevent it a little bit from splintering when you do the next step. And you don't exactly have to measure this, but basically cut it at a 45-degree angle, approximately like that. And then you can measure from the beginning of that 45, like around 5 millimeters, 4.5 millimeters approximately. 5 is fine though, and it doesn't have to be exact. These parts are barely visible. So just cut that off at that mark. And then take some 4-to-1 glue and put it, you could use straight glue for this as well. Put a bead inside of the 12 ring cap and just pop that on there. Make sure it's coming out nice and straight and let that dry. So do that 16 times for each vehicle. And then you've got some 8 ring caps. Now, if all you have is 8 ring caps, I would use 8 ring caps for the lower, like for what I'm using the 12 ring caps for, and just not use 8 ring caps at all. But if you have both, it looks better this way. And the size difference is pretty significant, as you can see. So the 8 ring caps don't really look quite right as the bottom wheels, but it's better than nothing. So with the 8 ring caps, what you want to do is, and it doesn't have to be any specific size, but about a centimeter perhaps. It's usually smart, actually, to do that, to sharpen one end of a bamboo skewer first. And it doesn't have to be sharp, it just a little smaller than its regular diameter makes it easier to push into the vehicle. And like I said, this doesn't have to be any particular length. And you're just going to make 8 of these. And you can either put glue inside the cap or glue on the skewer. Pop it into the 8 ring caps. And try to make sure it's coming off of there pretty straight. Best way to do that is kind of set it on the table, and then you can tell if the skewer is coming up straight or not. If it's not, you can just adjust it until it is. Make a bunch of those and let them dry. Now I've got a bunch of those dry already, and I've got a bunch of these already made and dry. So let's install these on the vehicle here. And basically we want to work all of these holes a bit larger because they've just been drilled out with a drill bit. So let's make these a bit bigger. And it's not a bad idea to actually use a slightly larger skewer than you're going to be inserting if you have one handy. And if you push in any direction, push downwards when you're expanding those holes, because you don't want them too close to the track cover. Okay, and once you've got those holes pushed in, make sure that you're going to be able to insert these fairly easily, yes. But don't insert them too far, because it can be hard to adjust them once they're in there. And put some glue on there. And if you go from the bottom, it's the easiest to tell. Just push these in until they're at about the same distance out from the hull as these wheels. And then just make sure that there's going to be enough room for the track under them, or on top of them. So push them down a little bit. And make sure they're coming out straight, like side to side. But definitely if they're going to be in any direction, they should be pushed down a little tiny bit, just to make sure that there's room for the track. Now, if you push them in too far, sometimes you'll kind of have to use pliers. That's why I have these handy, and you can kind of grab them here and adjust it. Try not to grab them by the cap, or you'll just sometimes pop the cap off, and you have to re-glue it on there. If you have to, you have to, but you can still sometimes pull them out with pliers, needle nose pliers, if you're careful. And just use a skewer to adjust their shape up and down if you need to. Oops. See, if you do push one a little bit far in, don't try to grab it by the cap and pull it back out, because quite often the cap will just pop right off of there. So this looks pretty good to me. Okay, and now let's install these on the bottom. First thing, you want to make sure that there's no overhang with this. If there is, you need to cut it off flush. And you're just going to set these right into place. So the cap essentially comes and abuts the side of the hull. And you can see like the downward angle shoots in like that. Now, I would recommend doing one side of the vehicle at a time and then letting it dry, just so you don't accidentally mishandle the reverse side while it's still wet. So keep that in mind. All right. Sure that's in its right position. Now, when these are drier, we can even take a bit more glue and solidify them in place. Especially if they're still manipulatable up down. You don't want them to be moving around later, so. But generally they will harden into place and not move at all. And that gets you a suspension nearly complete. Basically just the detailing to put on now. And to the next step. So, as you can hopefully read, special thanks to Yasing for the train template, which is now on the website. Please log on to the website and sign up if you can, so we know that you're out there, and hit the support button if you can. If not, spread the word or upload templates of your own or modifications to mine would be great too. Thanks for watching. See you soon.